We have another Bitcoin ETF set to launch. But as for the rest of us that are not bearish, we're eyeing the next step, right? The next leg up. Where is Bitcoin going to go? Well, in July is right around the corner. July is traditionally a very bullish month. Very bullish month. Remember, May is supposed to be a bad month. And we went down slightly in May. June has been pretty darn good so far, but we had to wait until basically the tail end of June. Now we're heading into July. And traditionally, July, we see at least a 20% bump. 20% from our 30,000 will bring us up to about 36,000. That's not too bad. Although there are many that think that we will go a lot higher than 36,000. People have predicted 40, 50,000 by July. Biggest news of the day is this. Now you have leveraged Bitcoin futures ETFs set to launch for Tuesday. So this will be very first time in history, well, at least US history, where we have a Bitcoin futures ETF that's leveraged 2x. Now, those of you guys that are familiar with ETFs, this is normal. You have ETFs that's based on sectors or based on an index, and there are ones that are leveraged like a 2x or 3x, usually no more than 3x, right? But the SEC has not allowed any fund company to come out with a leveraged Bitcoin futures ETF until now. This is the first time in history, okay? So many people are looking at this as a good thing, not because of the leverage part, although there are probably some traders that do want it. But from the perspective of the SEC is now allowing something that has never happened before to happen. Even though this is based on Bitcoin futures, there's no Bitcoin actually settled. Okay, it's all settled in cash, but it is following Bitcoin's price. But the SEC and Gary always had a problem, and even before Gary with Jay Clayton, they always had a problem with leveraged Bitcoin futures for whatever reason. They just didn't believe that Bitcoin was mature enough and there would be manipulation, even though there's plenty of manipulation in the stock market even today. So this is set to launch next week. Absolutely huge. Not what we want, though. We want spot ETF. And maybe someday leverage spot ETF. But for now, we'll get this. And it does show that the SEC is starting to, I don't know, maybe get comfortable, or maybe they have no choice to let things slide now because they really have no excuse, because other countries around the world already have Bitcoin ETFs. And everyone is very optimistic over, including Circle CEO. Circle is the company behind USDC, right? And mainly, I think it's because of BlackRock, right? But we've been talking a lot about BlackRock. Last night, I covered about BlackRock and their $9 trillion of the asset that may be coming into the space, along with everyone else totaling up over $27 trillion. Trillion, and that was just with a handful of companies. Doesn't include the thousands or tens of thousands or even millions of companies and institutions that may be jumping into this space in the next few years. So everyone is optimistic at this point. Even Cathie Wood, as she's bragging about how ARK is actually first in line for a spot Bitcoin ETF. Okay, so with all this enthusiasm, with BlackRock's application getting improved, Cathie Wood's like, you know what, ARK, we have our application in first. So ARK may be the first company to have a spot Bitcoin ETF approved. And who knows when that's going to be. It could be sooner than expected. It could be within the next quarter, right? This is not something that we're hoping for in like 2025, during the peak of bull. This is something that we're expecting like soon, very soon. So some of these applications have been pending for years now, and they have to keep reapplying and reapplying, right? So all of this means that, it's very bullish right now. And that's why there's a lot of optimism and enthusiasm. I just realized there should be a coin called enthusiasm. Since there's one called optimism already. Anyways, in case you guys are curious what a Bitcoin ETF can do for Bitcoin, well, this is what the first gold ETF did for gold. If you look at where gold was before the ETF introduction and where it ended up afterwards, including today, right? Well, then you put two and two together and you'll realize that, hey, this may be coming for Bitcoin. All right, so shorter term, not 2030, but shorter term, what can we expect? Well, here's another one. Here's a weekly ribbon. And basically what you take from this is it's very bullish. We have broken above all ribbon levels, okay? Just like in 2015, before we went on just astronomical run, 6,440%. You can see, yeah, and then in 2019, we saw it again, 152%. We did go lower. We did the trend lower a little bit in 2019, mostly because of the horrendous COVID crash. But you can see in 2020, when we did come above this ribbon line again, we went up 711%. Okay, so history's on our side. And guess what? Bitcoin has just broken above the ribbon once again. So are we going to see a 500%, a 600%, a 700% gain from where we are? Well, if you think about it, at 30,000, if we do a 500% gain, where are we at? Like 150-ish, right? So that's in line with the cycle top, 150, 200,000, right? Makes sense. Makes sense. And again, here's something else that's comparing 2015, 2019, 2023. There's just so many. I could go on and on and on and on and on about all the fractal patterns and all the signals and moving averages. You know what? They're all just so freaking bullish at this point. But, they were bullish even before. Even before Bitcoin was at 30,000, when Bitcoin was at 26,000 and 20,000. I show the same thing because that's what it's looking at. I mean, the whole market is trending upwards. I even declared that we started a new cycle. We're in a new bull cycle already after coming off from 15,000, right? We're not at the tail end. We're at the very beginning. The fundamentals continue to get better, not just for Bitcoin, for entire space. Bitcoin and Ethereum yanked out of crypto exchanges. 1.4 billion as large players return. Okay, large players, institutions have been in it since, I would argue, since 2020. Right, and they've been slowly accumulating behind the scenes. That's when Bitcoin reserves peaked and then started coming down, right? Why did it happen in 2020? Because I think that's when institutions started getting into the space. But also, you have a lot of whales, a lot of just people just buying and holding because they don't want to lose out on life-changing wealth or financial freedom. So it makes sense. More and more are being taken out of exchanges. It's supply and demand, guys. Supply and demand.